So science is proving that 95 to 99% of your reality is running from the subconscious.
Wow.
So that's like everything. I
Yeah.
have a teacher who explained it once so brilliantly. If you look down at your feet and made a circle around your feet, that's your conscious mind. And then if you made a circle 11 miles around you, that's your subconscious mind. Like
Whoa.
11 miles versus like the foot and a half maybe around your feet.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really great visual.
Right. So when we are up against things that like repeat patterns, we don't know why, we're choosing the same partner, our bank levels the same amount, we have the same lack of self-esteem when we're going to a room, things like that. That's all subconscious.
Welcome to the Forward Think Tank podcast, a place of hope, inspiration, and education around holistic health and healing. I'm your host, Jamie Mazza, a holistic health coach, mental health advocate, and dancer. Join me as I share out-of-the-box conversations with integrative doctors, healers, and exceptional forward-thinking individuals thriving on the other side of their health challenges, as well as stories from my own personal healing journey. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so happy you're here. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Forward Think Tank. On this week's episode, I welcome a friend of mine, Leah Crescenzo, a hypnotherapist and coach. Leah is somebody who we can have really deep spiritual conversations. We can talk about mindset. She does have a coaching background similar to me, so we can bounce ideas off of each other and also really help inspire change when we need to hear it. She is somebody I was so excited to interview and sit down and talk to her more about the subconscious mind and how those subconscious thoughts might be playing into, whether we realize it or not, how we are showing up in the world, how we're feeling on a day-to-day basis, how those subconscious thoughts can manifest as physical sensations in the body. We also talk about her work as a hypnotherapist, what it would look like to work with her, what hypnotherapy is, what a typical session looks like in her practice, the types of people she works with, the types of things hypnotherapy can help. And, we also talk in general being disconnected from our body, being disconnected from those subconscious cues that our body is trying to tell us because we are walking around connected to devices all day. We are just sucked into the world of social media or whatever is being projected onto us, and we're maybe less in tune with our bodies and less in tune with nature and the world as we should be experiencing it. It is a wonderful conversation, and hopefully it inspires you to be a little bit more intentional and conscious with the types of information you take in, the way that we think about our inner world and ways that we may be able to break free from some of the things that are holding us back from our full potential. To share a little bit more about Leah, Leah is a transformational coach. She's a clinical hypnotherapist and rapid transformational therapy, RTT practitioner, who specializes in identity level work and deep belief change. Her approach blends subconscious reprogramming and nervous system regulation to help women break free from old emotional patterns and create lasting embodied change. Leah's work is grounded in the understanding that your internal state shapes your external reality, and that when you shift your beliefs, you open the door to a life aligned within your true self. In this episode, she dives deep into one of the most powerful components of her work, how hypnotherapy can uncover and rewire the hidden identity patterns that keep us stuck so we can move forward with more ease, resilience, and wholeness, even in the face of challenge. And I think it's important because right here, internally, is where our power lies. As Leah explains in this episode, there are certain programs that we're running that we may not even realize were hardwired into us by whoever was around us growing up, whoever was parenting us, or maybe in school, or, other different ecosystems of our socialization that made such an imprint on us that we choose to carry those beliefs that may not be ours, and they impact how we show up or the beliefs we have in ourselves. So we dive deep into that. It's one of her favorite topics and mine too. And we also talk about how you can make some shifts, whether that is working with her in hypnotherapy or doing more conscious work on ourselves to help break those patterns, break free of those beliefs that don't serve us, and fill up our own cup and find that voice within and learn to trust it. Leah, if you're watching this playback, thank you so much for your time. I'm really thrilled to be sharing this episode with all of you. As always, if you enjoy this episode, please share it, leave a review, a comment, send this to a friend who may need to hear this, because I'm pretty sure all of us are walking around super distracted these days. I think a lot of you will get so many insights from this episode. And please welcome my friend Leah to the Forward Think Tank. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Forward Think Tank. This week, I have one of my friends who I am thrilled to welcome to this podcast, Leah Crescenzo. She is a hypnotherapist, and she is going to talk to us today all about hypnotherapy, the subconscious mind. We don't realize we're walking around having these autopilot beliefs and what's going on there. I'm just so thrilled, Leah, to have you, to have this conversation. I know how powerful it is. I've heard you talk about transformations you've had yourself. I've worked with you and I've seen some of the shifts that have happened. I know how powerful this is. So thank you and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jamie. It's always fun to talk with you.
It's my pleasure. Two friends just chit-chatting about the belief systems in our subconscious brains. So
They talk for us.
yes. Oh my
That's
gosh.
typical.
Exactly. So tell me, and everyone who may not be familiar with you and your work, a little bit about your journey and what led you to hypnotherapy.
Okay. In 2002, I was called by the IIN catalog to study health coaching. It was back before the website was out. It was a catalog. And I was like, oh, there's something about this I want to learn. I hadn't been in the field of holistic nutrition or anything ever. And so I jumped in, I did it. And then at the same time, I did a yoga teacher training. And so that was my first step into wellness. In the meantime, I was a graphic designer. I did the wellness thing for a little while and had always had this desire to be in the field of wellness, helping people evolve in some way. And it was really not clear, but I was going along with like what was in front of me. Fast forward 2014, I had a whisper. I can't explain it any other way than something was telling me to study hypnosis. And the only person I knew who did anything with hypnosis was my dad's best friend. And I wasn't even close with him. Oh, I knew his friend. He's a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
So I remember where I was very vividly asking my father if he knows if I had to be a licensed clinician to be a hypnotherapist. And he immediately was like, you do. So I was like, okay. But it was still lingering in my mind. At the time, I had a lot going on. I was going to make a huge move location-wise. So 2015, on Friday night, I decided to look it up myself. What do you have to do to become a hypnotherapist?
Right.
And there happened to be a training starting in New York the next morning. I sent an email to the school to see if I could join. And they called me first thing in the morning on a Saturday morning. They were like, come, you're going to miss the first hour, but come. And that started it. And that first session, so I went into health coaching and I went into yoga without ever knowing what this was about. I was led internally. I wanted an experience of hypnosis. And so I volunteered for the class to be hypnotized in front of the class as, the guinea pig.
Good for you.
Because I'm like, I really need to get this experience. I'm so curious what this is about. I don't know why I'm studying it, but it's calling me. And so what I wanted to work on was, should I go back to corporate? Should I go back and do the 9-to-5 stable, straightforward path? Or do I really focus on this call to wellness? Whatever it looked like, do I go in that direction? I thought for sure the outcome was, no, go back to corporate, where you're safe. And it wasn't. Like through this hypnosis, it came clear that, it's going to be harder, but you're going to go on your own path. Yeah. And I did from that moment on. So that was 2015. I started marrying the health coaching information with the hypnosis that I was learning. But it was very slow going. And then fast forward again, 2017, I studied RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy with Marissa Peer. And I became a clinical hypnotherapist. And from there, my business took off in that direction. And so that's where it really became a stable, real business working with people in that way. Yeah. And now it makes such sense how I had the whisper. It was really meant to be.
And that's so interesting that you had that, as you call it, your whisper, or like that nudge from something bigger than you, that calling to do that when you weren't even sure what
that world was all about. That's so powerful. And then you have that transformational experience in the training. Like, I'm meant to be here. And now I know how fulfilled you feel doing this work, how great you are at it. And you're truly helping to transform lives. It's profound when you can listen to that internal compass and follow that dream, because it's not the easy route, as you said, but I'm sure it's fulfilling and it's part of your mission here on Earth.
Absolutely. And what came up in that hypnosis was that there was no glass ceiling.
I love that.
While Gas Corporate was going to give me a salary and it was going to be a set, stable thing, I could grow more in my own business.
Yeah. Okay. So can you help define hypnotherapy? Because for people who may not be familiar with how it works and what it is, they probably just think hypnosis, like you're being hypnotized. That's kind of the stigma. So can you explain what hypnotherapy is and the difference between that and RTT specifically, and how it might differ from some other therapies?
Yeah. So hypnotherapy, well, right now we're in the beta brainwave state. You and I, our eyes are open, we're conscious. The next level down would be the alpha brainwave state, and then theta, and even deeper into delta. So right now at the conscious level, everything is top level. We're very aware. We have these lower levels that we can access that have more information for us. And technically, we can go into trance. We are going into trance multiple times a day when we're scrolling social media, or if you have the same route to work, we're going into trance, which is essentially a hypnosis. We're going into
that autopilot mode, right?
Exactly. Right. Okay. We're going into autopilot mode. And that's why marketing on Instagram or social media is so powerful, because you are going into a lower state, a lower brainwave state. Hypnosis is similar to meditation, where you're bringing yourself into a lower brainwave state, except with hypnosis, it's with a goal. Typically, my goals are to find people's hidden blocks and barriers. Like, what is their identity? What is the identity that they're not aware of, that they're running their programs by?
Yes.
The way RTT is different is that, well, there's a lot of different techniques in hypnosis. There's so many different techniques in hypnosis. RTT is a set of hypnotic techniques all wrapped into one longer 2-hour session. I could always break those up into smaller sessions, or in coaching, sometimes I'll bring some of those techniques in. And having studied other hypnosis
you're blending some of that together in your own work.
Right.
Yeah. So I know when you and I worked together, you end up doing a recording that we listen to for a certain amount of days. I think it's like 21 or 23 days. Is that standard in hypnotherapy, or is that part of RTT, or is that your own blended?
Right. Well, that's a good question, because the first training I did was Ericksonian hypnotherapy, or Ericksonian hypnosis.
Okay.
And that isn't regression. That was more suggestion. And
gotcha.
Changing states of being to help to release energy.
Yeah.
RTT is regression. And so with RTT, we go back to find the root cause. Where is there a scene or an emotion or a little bit about you where we can go back and take the energy away from that and change the perception, change the meaning that was made about yourself, others, and the world in that time, from that younger version of you. So that's a regression process. And then we instill the new beliefs, the new identity, the new ways of thinking, the new perspective, which is always much more positive when you're looking at it from the adult conscious mind. When we're regressing, we're accessing the inner child, the younger you that is very limited in perception and very limited in authority, really. People around them are showing them who they are.
Right.
As a child, you don't have
their beliefs.
Exactly.
Not on your own.
So it's like getting all passed down.
Yeah.
And so children don't see that they, they're being programmed by these adults around them, and that they actually have a choice. Sometimes children have a feeling, oh, well, this doesn't feel right. And then they push back. But then the adult, because the adult has to have control, will push back even harder and try to sculpt and shape children into who they want them to be. So anyway, that starts to end up playing out in your life. And then, so in the RTT, once we shift the perceptions, I create a custom recording for clients that is based on, their new feeling, their new identity, the new perception.
Yeah, it's powerful. And it's so interesting, right? Because in therapy, standard talk therapy, people do think, and I've even thought, and my mom's even asked me, do you talk about when you were a kid? And was the way you are now or the things that you feel frustrated with my fault as a mom? And it's like, no, we're all individual beings walking around doing the best we can with what we have. But to your point, when we can go back as an adult and access some of those events that happened that may be perceived as, a traumatic thing or just something that like made a change in our subconscious, we don't realize that we're carrying that experience with us
right
through life. And so to go back and be able to change that and be in that state where you can almost rewire your brain, if I'm saying this correctly, that's how I interpret what you're saying and interpret what I experienced. It's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, and it could be anything from a child coming home from school and their mom is overwhelmed with life and making dinner and has other kids. And this child might need mom's attention for that moment. And if mom is like, I don't have time right now, I'm trying to make dinner, that kid makes it a meaning about themselves. Yeah. It could be something so simple like that, or a lot happens on the playground or at school or in religion. Yep. There's a lot of places, even on TV, kids pick up nuances of what's happening on TV. I remember watching Terms of Endearment when I was a child, which the mom dies. I think like that instilled a fear in me, a health anxiety in me once I became a mom, because I watched it on loop and I was young. And so these things like are programming us. And so when we can go back and say, that's not me, that's not my experience, I don't have to feel that way from a subconscious state, which is the deeper brainwave state, not the logical, conscious, top thinking state. Yeah. That's when it actually takes hold.
Yeah, I have so many past events are circulating through my brain as I'm talking about this. Maybe go a little bit more detail on the subconscious mind and what role the subconscious mind plays in our daily life. And you tapped on it a little bit with even talking about how we're scrolling through Instagram. We might even not realize that we're kind of in this autopilot mode, but what role does the subconscious mind play in our day-to-day lives? And why is that so important in hypnotherapy? I think that could be helpful for people to be like, okay, that makes sense.
So science is proving that 95 to 99% of your reality is running from the subconscious.
Wow.
So that's like everything. I have a teacher who explained it once brilliantly. If you look down at your feet and made a circle around your feet, that's your conscious mind. And then if you made a circle 11 miles around you, that's your subconscious mind. Miles versus 1.5 feet around your feet.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really great visual.
Right. So when we are up against things like repeat patterns, we don't know why, we're choosing the same partner, our bank levels the same amount, we have the same lack of self-esteem when we're going to a room, things like that. That's all subconscious. And when it's formed, yes, we are programmed on social media as adults and through TV and stuff, we are still being programmed, but the main program is happening from the time you're in utero to the time you're 7 years old, because those are the times where you have to learn to fend for yourself, really. Like you have to learn to eat and walk and talk, like communicate, you're dressing yourself, like you are becoming this human. All of these things, like we don't think about like getting out of bed and putting one foot in front of you. And like that's a subconscious pattern now. Like It's already programmed, it's already running. But at the same time, we're also programming like who we are, what the world has for us, who others are in the world. And so we don't think to go back to it, but it's definitely still running the show in your reality. Yeah.
It's so interesting. And maybe this kind of like lends itself into my next question. But as you talked about, we don't think about getting ourselves out of bed and putting one foot in front of the other. I've realized since surgery, I've had to slow down and sometimes rotate on my side and get myself up differently or get up slower. I was somebody who used to literally just jump up out of bed. I don't know where that came from. Like I remember somebody saying like, this is the correct way. You should get yourself up so you don't get hurt. Like maybe when I injured my hip like years back. So like I was so conscious of the way that I was doing all of these physical things that are just part of like my subconscious program. Can you elaborate a little bit more specifically about how our thoughts and our beliefs, which sound like they're all based on these past experiences, as we've said so far, how that can affect our physical health and our emotional health?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to note what you just said, health is just one thing that we definitely take for granted.
Yes.
You have no idea how easy it is to walk from here to there until you can't walk from here to there. And it's like, what?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have something inside of ourselves called the reticular activating system. And science proves that 80 million bits of information are coming through our retinas per second. 80 million bits through our retinas.
Per second.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
But our bodies only process 40 to 50 bits, just 40 to 50 bits through our retinas. And what it's choosing to process is what's familiar. So when we think about our thoughts and beliefs, if we have thoughts and beliefs that are limiting around ourselves, it's harder to change it because that's the information that we actually allow through the gate. Because it's familiar, and what's familiar is safe, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it is unhealthy. We just let that through. Even if we want something different, we're still letting it through until we have the awareness to shift it in a deeper place in the subconscious. We tend to just go with our thoughts and beliefs. Our thoughts and beliefs create an identity. And then we have behaviors, and we make choices and decisions around that identity.
Right.
It's this really big cycle.
Are you still walking around in those leggings full of microplastics? I know. Seems like nothing is safe anymore, right? It's ridiculous. I recently started changing over my clothing to more sustainably sourced, no harm to me brands, and I have been obsessed lately with Woolly. It's made of 100% merino wool. Honestly, you have to try. Merino wool, it's naturally finer than your average wool, so don't think about like your grandma's wool, right? It's made of smaller, breathable fibers that actually regulate your body temperature. So I wore their leggings in the dead of winter when I was trying to get out every single day, even if it was 15 degrees post-op. I had not an ounce of body fat on me, so I was always freezing, and I was shocked at how it kept me warm and insulated on my walks. So obsessed. But it also wicks away moisture from the skin and is quick to dry. So really perfect for, now that it's getting nice out, we're going outside, we might be sweating a little bit. It's all good. It will regulate your body temperature. It's truly amazing. So I've been obsessed with their leggings. I also have short and long sleeve tops from them, which again are just so fine and soft to the touch. I was honestly shocked, and they're comfortable. They're cute. I mean, they have everything from like underwear to athletic wear. I can't wait to try more, but I had to tell you about this because I know honestly for a lot of people who are hyper conscious, I should say, about wellness are looking at the trending topic of microplastics in our Lululemon leggings. So if you're looking for high quality athleisure gear that won't add to your plastic burden, I highly recommend you try Woolly. They have everything, like I said, from athleisure to underwear, and you can get 15% off your first order using code JAMIEM15. That's JAMIEM as in Mazda, 15 at checkout. So head on over to Woolly, WOOLLY.clothing and check them out. Enjoy.
There's so many of us walking around, myself included, right? There are days where my friends, will check in on me. Like, how's it going? I'm like, every day feels the same. But then I realize every day doesn't need to be the same. I think to your point, I'm falling into even new habits. I found that it was really interesting, actually. One day I was in the height of my pain at week maybe 7 or 8, and my sister had come into town, and I met her in Manhattan, which is what we normally do. It's the halfway point between Queens and New Jersey. And I planned, this fun day at the Color Factory for my niece who's 4. So there's like this room with confetti, we could take selfies and pictures, and there's candy and, whatever, ball pit. I just totally got out of my programming of thinking I need to lay down at a certain time, or I need to do this at a certain time, or my pain's going to start at a certain time. Don't get me wrong. My pain did kick in eventually, but I feel like I was able to be so present and in the moment and play and enjoy and do something totally different that it kind of took that internal wiring of being on the hamster wheel away. I was really surprised with how much I was able to enjoy the moment.
Yeah, and that speaks to when we're talking about hypnosis, we're talking about a healing. It's an opportunity for healing, to go into the subconscious mind, to find where the root of this issue that you're experiencing is, to change the beliefs around it, change the energy around it, release emotions around it, because there's a lot of emotion locked into those beliefs.
Yes.
So that's a healing. And what I've really gotten into, and what I felt like I got stuck in for a long time, for a number of years, is the healing aspect, where there's a whole other side of personal development, which I've gotten into this past year. And that is moving forward into changing the pattern, to recognize where these thoughts and beliefs are creating mechanisms in your life. So if you believe I'm not enough, if I have this belief I'm not enough, I'm going to go into a room and I'm not going to talk to people. I'm going to stay in the corner.
Shut down.
I'm not going to presence myself. And then I'll have that same experience. It's like self-fulfilling prophecy. I'll have that same experience. I'll go home and think I'm not enough. Whereas once you can understand, all right, well, this is just an identity that I've been running, and these are the behaviors I've had because of it. These are the actions that I take because of it. I can start to realize I am enough. And it's not just a matter of I am enough. It's not a matter of just changing the word. It's more, well, I have the brilliance in this way. And I'm a really good friend and I'm a good communicator, understanding where you are enough and then acting differently. So that's kind of what you're saying is what happened to you, is that you were acting differently outside of the pattern that staying at home and staying in like the healing mind and that process.
Yeah, it's so true. Not to shift gears, but to that point of how our thoughts affect how we're feeling, and thinking back to why people would come to something like hypnosis. Maybe people have tried therapy. I don't know if you can attest to how clients show up. Like, well, I've tried this, I've tried that. But for somebody who's experiencing something chronic, whether that is pain or more anxiety or insomnia, things that they feel like they can't shift, can hypnotherapy help with something like that?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, we're working at the level of the deeper brainwaves, at the level of the subconscious, which is running the show. So again, all of your reality, like 5 to 99% of your reality is subconscious. And I've had clients who've come to me after years of therapy that have said in one session, they shifted, made so much more progress in one session, because they're also outside of the logical mind. Like, the logical mind wants to keep you where you are safe because that's familiar.
You out of that growth or that discomfort.
And we're working with the nervous system too. If you're in a therapy session and you're like in a more active sympathetic nervous system, if you're
parasympathetic, but yes,
or either, then your system is not supported to get to the deeper levels. That's why with hypnosis, we're in a meditative state. Things are calmer. Your system is just calmer. To be able to access, to feel safer.
Right.
To release some of those hidden blocks and barriers.
Yeah.
And part of my work is to have an initial session with somebody. I don't just have somebody sign up and have a hypnosis session with me, because we have to have some sort of rapport. They have to feel safe with me, or else the subconscious will block any sort of healing.
Yeah, that's important. I'm the S word. Safety. I've learned from an emotional regulation perspective how important it is to feel safe in any situation. And even when you're in the thick of it, you can still find ways to feel safe. I just did an episode that I released this week talking about my experience in therapy. And I developed a really strong relationship with my therapist, who's also a coach. Having that trust with her helped me create a safe space to feel like I could develop that internal trust within myself. I love that you said that, because that's so important, especially for people who are coming to hypnotherapy as it being something totally new and something they've never experienced. The porcupine little like heightened awareness might come out. Tell me what it typically looks like to work with you in hypnotherapy and what people can expect, so people can understand the logistics.
Okay, so I typically work with people around hidden blocks and barriers of why they're repeating patterns or why they have like an emotional concern. I do a 30-day program. In the hypnosis program, it's 30 days and it's 3 sessions. The first session's an intake and we get to know each other. You tell me a little bit about your past. You tell me about what you're experiencing now and then what you want to experience for your future. And a lot of times we're not even able to name what it is that you want to feel in the future. And that's why I can help to guide that and bring out some of the hopes and desires and dreams for people. But that stuff's going to go into your recording. The second session is the 2-hour hypnotherapy session. And that's where I talk you into that relaxed state, similar to meditation, whatever comes up. And people say, what if I can't be hypnotized? To that, I can say, we go in and out of trance multiple times a day. So most likely you can. And it's not, like, to speak to what you said earlier about the hypnotist waving the clock and having people go into that trance. That's not how it is. It might not even feel that you're that deep, but when you're closing down your senses, when you are, you're supported by the surface beneath you, your eyes are closed, I'm in your ears, you are going into a calmer brainwave state to access some information.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes people will say, well, what if I knew the memory that comes up? What if I already knew that? It wasn't any new information. To that, I would say it's because that needed to be healed, because we carry around these stories, we carry around these traumas that just keep repeating the victim's story. Not to say that it didn't really happen. We all have things that really happen, but are we holding on to it and making it mean something about ourselves, that we're helpless in some way? So anyway, if something is repeating and needs to come up, great, let's do that. And let's get the emotion out from beneath it. When we're storing these emotions, it's just blocking our energy field for the new stuff that needs to come in, that we want to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm off topic right now, but I picture our space. We have this electromagnetic field around us, in arm's length around us. We have our aura. And in our physical space and in that energetic space are these energetic blocks. I picture them as softballs.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's how I picture it. And so if we can access what the emotion is and release it, sometimes people cry, sometimes people get angry. I had somebody once punching, like, F you, dad, getting it out. And that is such a somatic release, because you were seriously getting, and he had a fantastic outcome from that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what we're doing in the session. At the end of the hypnosis session, again, I create that custom recording. It's about 20 minutes long.
Okay.
All positive based, seeing yourself, feeling yourself in a different version of you. What are the words you'll hear you say to yourself? What are the words you hear other people saying to you? And then they're listening to that for a minimum of 3 weeks, like a minimum at night.
Is there a science behind that 3-week mark? Just curious.
It has been taught that beliefs change in 21 days. So that's why I say a minimum, because there's also science that says it's like 66 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like going to the gym. You can go to the gym for 3 weeks and experience a shift in your body, but also you need to keep up with it. So our minds want to go back to
our old patterns because they're comfortable.
Exactly, because it's familiar. So it's important to have it. Like, yes, a shift is made and you're not reliant upon the recording, but it can't hurt to keep listening and to remind yourself of like who you are and what's possible for you.
Yeah. Reinforce that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Hammer it in.
And I have people like record their own, because a really powerful self-ability is hearing your own voice say these positive things to you.
Yeah, that's cool.
I have people listen to it at night, because that's when the doors of the subconscious open. We're in that liminal space between waking and sleeping, either like right before sleep or right when you wake up, when you're just waking up and you're opening your eyes. Those are the perfect times to listen to the recording, because you're already going into a subconscious state. So then hearing the message at that time helps to make that imprint.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then at the end of the 30 days, I have a final coaching session. And that's to talk more about what has shifted, celebrate the wins. What actions are you taking now from this new perspective, this new energy?
Yeah.
I also now am working in a coaching program. So now So having worked with people through hypnotherapy and working so deeply on these beliefs and patterns, I just saw the missing piece was to hold the vision for people, hold the container of who you actually are, because we lose sight of our potential. I created a coaching program where it's very similar to the hypnotherapy program, where we get the vision of what you're looking to become. We go into the blocks and the barriers. Where are you isolating? Where are you going into shame? And then once we heal that, we're able to say, okay, so you could see how this has been playing out in your life, of how you're showing up in your life, what the mechanism is.
Right.
And then what are the actions what are the supportive actions? It's not the standard goal setting type thing. It's like, where are you inspired? Who are you? What is your soul calling you to do?
Yeah.
And that's exciting to me. That is really exciting to me because, again, the whisper I've had for a lot of years is help people manifest their lives, help people step into who they're here to be.
Right.
And so this combines all of my loves into one.
Yeah. And I think you were telling me, am I making this up, that the group program also includes Kundalini, or is that?
That's a different program that I'm doing. So right now I'm doing
Sorry, I'm jumping around.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm doing a monthly meditation drop-in. So again, like a piece I had seen missing for my women clients was community, a daily practice.
Yes.
And so I'm created monthly programs where people are coming in and they have a daily practice, a daily morning practice. So that's flushing the energy. That's, shifting the nervous system state to be more open and receptive. And then we have weekly calls of like healing and group coaching and actions.
Beautiful.
And a community, like a chat community.
There's so much power in community. We tend to isolate when we get in our heads.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I'm sure you can speak to that. We tend to feel like we're so alone, or we're the only one feeling this way. What's wrong with us? I'm speaking from personal experience. I compare myself to other people and it's like, well, they have this, or they're happy in their job, or whatever. What's wrong with me? So the fact that you are bringing together a group of people where they can share experiences, share wins as a collaborative group, there's power, and there's also healing in that as well.
Yes. That's the feedback that I've gotten. So I've asked for feedback, and everyone is saying community because they don't feel so alone in their condition or concern. They're like, oh, all right, I see myself in these other people. And then when we're doing the group coaching, they're able to, again, like see themselves, like they're getting coached through someone else's experience. They're getting a new perspective from someone else's experience.
Absolutely. We learn so much from other people. It's in a different way. It reminds me of the group coaching aspect of Dr. Lori's program. I did not want to be part of those calls in the beginning. I was like, I shouldn't be here. I'm too young. I'm this, I'm that. I was just in such denial. The more I showed up and the more I was vulnerable and open and shared, I then felt like I'm amongst a group of people who get it and who have maybe walked in my shoes and who I can learn from their questions or learn from their experience. And we support one another. And there's been a lot of goodness there, as much as it can also be emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
It's really nice to have support around you. So I love that you've created that community. That's really wonderful.
Through my work, I've seen a lot of local women always telling me that they were looking for women who are also into the healing and the manifesting, the other ways of thinking. There's something more. And they're looking for that type of community.
Yeah. Well, good on you for bringing that to life. Really. Yeah, of course. So I guess curious to know if you've learned anything unexpected or that, surprised you, or maybe was an aha moment about the human mind, how we are as people, or just even healing in general through the practice of hypnotherapy.
I've learned a lot around how emotions affect us, how stored emotions affect us, like through the years. I also think that there's so much more knowledge coming out around that, right? There's more education coming out around emotional repression and what it does to the body. When I started all of this 20 years ago, this wasn't being spoken about. Even 10 years ago, I wasn't in circles where I was hearing that. Now I can see. When I studied RTT in the first place, I would go through the process with people and not really know why they were healing or how they were getting the outcomes that they were getting. And now I'm able, because of the education that's out right now, I can understand, like, yes, that person had massive repressed emotions through a situation. And so also, one of my good friends that I studied RTT with, we used to say, oh, it's so good when somebody cries in the session. It sounds mean, but it's actually no,
it's a release.
Physical release. It's an emotional release, and there's so much healing and space that comes from that. I didn't even know why. We knew there was something to it. When somebody would cry, then they come back feeling lighter and something has shifted in them. Now the science is backing that, yes, those emotions are sitting on your nervous system and blocking the healing that has to happen, even physically, right? Like physical concerns.
So can you elaborate on that a little bit more? How can those repressed or blocked emotions create physical manifestation in our body? What might that look like?
Are you finding yourself spending half of your income at Whole Foods these days? Let's face it, groceries are freaking expensive. But of course, we want to have the healthiest snacks around, right? Let me let you in on a little secret. Thrive Market. This online marketplace has every healthy snack brand around. Plus, they now have meat and seafood options. Hello, grass-fed meat, personal care products, supplements, and household products all in one place. But the best part, you get better prices than you do at your current grocery store. Yes, you heard me. Discounts on your favorite healthy food brands. And if you're anything like me and you check every food label on site for added sugar, seed oils, and hidden ingredients, you're going to love Thrive Market. Plus, if you click on the link in the episode description, I am giving you 40% off your first order. Yes, 40. That is a big deal. So make sure you stock up. Happy shopping, friends.
So there's the whole German New Medicine. There's the whole Louise Hay. She was the pioneer 50 years ago talking about how specific health concerns and issues relate to different parts of the body. When you have eye pain, it's like, what are you not seeing? When you have throat pain, what are you not vocalizing? Because in those areas, we're holding back. A lot of times people protect their hearts and then they have heart issues or they have troubles breathing.
Yeah.
They're protecting. So those emotions are stored there, and in some way that they are protecting our body. Like they think they're protecting our body, but they're actually causing a misalignment because the energy is being blocked. Because emotions are an energy. Beliefs, thoughts, emotions are all an energy. And so if they're, not in the positive form, they're blocking the positive in your body.
Yeah, it's so interesting how some of the conversations I've had over the last several months are starting to weave together and connect dots, even if it's a different way of looking at the body or the mind. I sat with Erin Kump. We talked about traditional Chinese medicine, and she looks at different organ systems in the body from a TCM perspective. We were talking about similar things in how emotions create symptoms or manifestations, right? Was going to her, obviously not knowing what was happening in my body at the time. I'd find myself waking up between the hours of 3 to 5 a.m., which she said from the Chinese medicine clock correlates to the lungs. And that was just sitting right there. The lungs are connected to grief in Chinese medicine. Then it made me kind of ruminate over, okay, well, what are my traumas? What do I need to release? And so then worked on that a little bit more in therapy. And then there's the whole idea from a cancering perspective that tumors are actually our body's way of protecting us, right? Because they're kind of encapsulating whatever is happening inside and our immune system turning a blind eye to. I'm going off on a total tangent.
No, but important. It's important. Absolutely.
It's interesting that this is coming up again and we're looking at it from a slightly different lens, but it's all the same idea that our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions it is physical energy that can create different symptoms or ailments in our body. And then our body's trying to speak to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, our bodies are so brilliant. And it's true that body first healing, it's less about looking to the external and more about asking the body. And that's where we're prompting the subconscious, asking the body, what do you need? And what I do with clients, if you're having a situation, if I'm not with a client, I'll teach them, turn to yourself and say, Leah, what are you experiencing? Without trying to change it, just ask the body, what are you experiencing? I'm experiencing anxiety. Okay, I see that you're experiencing anxiety. What do you need? Leah, what do you need? Asking yourself and just see what comes up. Our bodies hold the answers. And so they're creating these things for a reason. Like you're saying, a cancer could be encapsulating something that could be harmful to the body.
Yeah. Yeah. What you just explained of asking your body what it needs, I also feel has come up on a lot of my solo podcasts because for the first time in my life, I have so much space around me to heal and to pause and to take life at a slower pace. And it's something that, yes, I'm frustrated that I'm not at a different point in my healing, but I'm also realizing that this is something I can't take for granted because it's allowed me to have that internal dialogue be open, where I used to just be like, okay, we're tired, whatever. We need to keep going. We need to get on with our day. We need to show up to the party or blah, 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 fill in the blank, insert somebody else's expectations of what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I ignore myself. That's a really great point to bring that up and do exactly that. If you're listening to this, take Leah's advice, take that practice to just ask yourself what you need and see what comes up, because our body is always speaking to us. I think so many of us, at least in my opinion, and I know you agree, are walking around so disconnected from that subconscious, so disconnected from our body and the cues it's giving to us. Why do you think that is? And is there anything else that comes to mind as to a way that we can access that part of ourselves, whether that's the subconscious or just our body's internal language more often?
Yeah. Well, I think our society has been created to disconnect us.
Mm-hmm.
It's disconnecting us from ourselves, but also disconnecting us from each other, which causes so much illness. Both of those things, perfect recipe for illness. It disconnects us from the world, like Mother Earth. There's so much happening that things are just spiraling out. And so if we were going to go back to like thousands of years ago, like what were we doing, right? We were coming together in community. We were healing together. We were raising children together. And so that is really what I would love to focus on. I don't know, I could go off into like why I think that's happening. Because
we become blinded by what we see and hear. I agree. We're all, even just walking down the street, I see every single person, including people driving like this.
Yes.
It's like,
yeah.
Oh my God. And half the things, I think the world has opened their eyes a little bit more, I think, to know that, or maybe not, because to your point, marketing is so subconscious. We believe so much of what we see, and so much of what we see, it's like, I don't even know what is true and what's not anymore.
I know. Yeah, I think you have to feel into that, because I am definitely victim to that. Like I will see something like, oh, I need that, on an ad. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need that. Even with the parasite cleanse, some people might say like, what? Like, what are you doing with that? That's just the newest thing, and you're going to jump down that hole. But for me, I feel into it. I'm not following everything, but if it feels right to me, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
It's really slowing down and listening to your body to say what does feel good and right.
Right. Yeah. In addition to slowing down, asking our body what it needs, are there any other ways we can get in touch with our subconscious or get in touch with our humanness?
Yes. So you'll know something's up with your subconscious when you're witnessing a life that you're not excited about, when there's something happening in your life that you're just not excited about it. Right? There's some sort of pattern that's happening. So then you know that there's some inner stuff that you want to start exploring. Literally, the best way to do it is meditation, just closing your eyes. There's so many different forms of meditation. There's a lot of access to meditation right now.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite style or?
Kundalini yoga and meditation has been my favorite. And that was one of those things. 2011 on Yoga Glow, I did my first Kundalini class and I was like, this is amazing, but it doesn't give me a physical experience. So it didn't give me the strength that a standard hatha yoga would.
Right.
I kind of put it aside, but that was another whisper. And then around 2016, I studied with Guru Jagat, and she's since passed, and that's a whole other story. But I love Kundalini yoga because I can get caught in nervous system stuff. I'm definitely a shutdown person. I can get caught in that freeze state of not doing anything. And so with those practices, with the breath and the mantra and the movement, those really shift and activate my system. That's why I bring those into my group programs, because I want everybody to access this in pieces that are digestible. I won't have you do an hour and a half class. I'll do a 20-minute session with somebody.
I like that.
For me, that's my daily practice because it starts my day. It brings me into a state change that I can actually move into my day I also am a Vedic meditator. So I have that mantra meditation that you repeat the mantra in your mind for 20 minutes twice a day. I lean on that sometimes too, but Kundalini is way more powerful.
Yeah. Thank you for that. This has been so interesting. And you've offered really tangible pieces of information that people can create visuals of, oh my gosh, okay, this is how it works, or even facts you've thrown out there. It's shocking. I'm going to hold on to that now. This is our conscious thought around our foot, and this is our subconscious, or the 80 trillion we take in versus like the 40 that we can actually absorb. So many things that you've brought up in this conversation that to me are just, wow, that's real food for thought. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So for people who may be curious about hypnotherapy, but nervous to try it or skeptical, what advice would you give to them?
So,
but they're maybe curious,
yeah,
they're not sure.
Yeah. I'm skeptical. I know there's plenty of people that are skeptical. Absolutely. Because again, what we've been shown as hypnotherapy is the stage hypnosis with somebody barking on the stage. And they're like, I don't want that to happen to me. And that's just to show how suggestible people are. Mm-hmm. And the stage hypnotists, they look out in the audience and they pick the person that is suggestible. There are tools, there are ways to know if somebody's suggestible. They pick those people to come up on stage because they're going to perform. But for somebody who's curious, maybe a little bit nervous, I will say that your subconscious mind doesn't give you what you can't handle. Mm-hmm. So if you're scared that some big dark door is going to open up and you're never going to be able to go back to not knowing, your subconscious doesn't give you what you can't handle. So that's one thing. And two, I'm not in control of your mind at all. You are fully aware of what's happening in the session. I take massive amounts of notes, so you'll hear me flipping pages. If you have something going on outside your door, you'll hear that. You're very aware, but you're just in this quiet state of relaxation. Yeah. Sometimes people say, oh, it feels like my arm is heavy to pick up, but you're still able to move. You're able to hop up. I've had people who, I've got to use the bathroom in the middle of the session. So just as you would a movie, let's put this on pause, use the bathroom and come back and we're back in it. It's okay. It's not anything lost.
Yeah. I'm sure that's good for people to hear because people may be like, oh my gosh, I'm in such a deep trance that like can't snap out of it.
Yeah. And I really have had that feedback. I'm really nervous. At the start of a session, people are like, I'm really nervous. And then at the end of the session, I'm like, well, what did you think? Oh, no, there's nothing to be nervous about.
Yeah. I remember when we went to Puerto Rico and we had that retreat and I was seeing people talking more about like nutrition and lifestyle things, and you were offering hypnotherapy, and people would come out with all sorts of emotions after having that profound experience. And as you've said, it's sometimes maybe the tears that need to be released or something that they didn't realize that they were carrying so heavily their whole life. And I saw so much transformation, even in a short time, that the people were raving about the hypnotherapy session there is in that whole session. So being able to see that and experience it firsthand was really special.
Yeah. And what we did in Puerto Rico, because I had limited time with everybody, we did inner child work. That was very specifically going back to the little you and having that little you voice what they needed to who they needed to voice it to. And that can be incredibly therapeutic because you're giving validation to the younger you that is locked inside a lack identity, an identity of, like, I'm not enough, I'm too much, I'm not important, I don't matter. There's a matrix of, so many different beliefs that somebody can fall into and then in turn live their lives out in certain ways. And so what we did, truly in like Puerto Rico, we went into that inner child stuff and had those little girls voice what they needed to.
That makes sense. And I'm sure I knew that at the time and it just kind of didn't stick with me, but that inner child work is so powerful and so important and so impactful. That's amazing. For people who may be interested in working with you, are there certain things that you focus on or certain themes that you see come up with people that you work with, that you help them through?
So I work a lot with people with confidence, lack of self-esteem, anxiety, depression, who you are and what's possible for you. I do still get clients looking to quit smoking or fear of flying, nail biting, relationship issues. I do get clients that are looking for tangible changes and behaviors, but a lot of who I focus on and who I attract are the confidence, emotional concerns.
Okay, awesome. A couple more questions for you. I'm enjoying this so much. What are you currently exploring or excited about in the world of mind-body healing? Because there's so many things that we touched on just in this conversation. I know you're such a curious person. Is there anything exciting and new that you are going a little bit deeper into?
So right now I'm going a little deeper into the human potential part. I've really hung out in the healing aspect of things for many years. And over the last year, I'm more focused on where are you limiting yourself in your behaviors, your actions, how you're presencing yourself. That's more exciting for me right now because it's helping people move forward.
Yes.
It's actually helping people step into a life that they're excited about with their potential.
Yeah. You're helping people move forward and you're here talking about it on the Forward Think Tank. How fitting is that?
Perfect. How am I moving forward is helping people move forward.
That's amazing. Are there specific credentials people should look for if they're looking for a hypnotherapist in their area?
That's a really good question because just as you can become a certified yoga teacher at a weekend workshop, you can also get certified in hypnosis in a couple of weekends. It's not a tremendous training. So I would say length of practice.
Okay. Yeah.
Is important. I think that RTT took off so quickly because it had Marissa Peer behind it and she was a therapist and she was sharing, but RTT was a known modality. And so other people really went with that. It's a really good question. I would say length of experience.
Yeah. I also think maybe to that point, like if RTT is something that's appealing to people, on that note, I said the same thing talking about looking for a therapist this week. See what the techniques are that they're trained in and make sure that that resonates with you.
That's good. Yes.
Do you agree?
Right, because absolutely. I have had people look on my website and see that I have a more spiritual lens with the yoga and meditation and all the other trainings that I've done. And so that's why they'll work with me. And it's less of a clinical hypnosis than an emotional type hypnosis or spiritual.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, there's so much you can learn about somebody based on other offerings that they have or even who they are as a person. It's important, like you said from the very beginning, to develop that connection and relationship with your therapist.
That's exactly it. So if you're looking to work with a hypnotherapist, just make sure you connect with them because I've had people who come in that tend to be more protective people. They don't trust others. And so my job is to form a connection with people. I've also personally had a coach last year that I did not connect with. She showed up with a very straight face and was very hard to be real around.
Yeah.
And that shut me right down too. So I think it has to be a real emotional connection.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Well, I will be sure to include all the ways that people can get in touch with you if you want to learn more about Leah, learn more about what she offers and hypnotherapy or her group coaching programs that she talked about. I will make sure to plug all that information in the episode description. Leah, I have one final question that I ask everybody who comes on the Forward Think Tank. What keeps you moving forward in life?
There's an invisible drive that's keeping me moving forward. There is this IntelliKey within me. There's something within me that keeps me moving forward in this direction. I truly desire to help people live their best lives. And I think it comes from maybe me wanting to live my best life and then doing all the research of how is that possible and then wanting to share it with so many other people. I continue to learn and evolve and grow. And it really excites me, all of this information.
I love that. I mean, I will attest to that, just being your friend. I think you always hold a vessel for me to in a safe space to share things. You encourage and you provoke a lot of thought in me because I do think that you recognize, I love that you talked about human potential and that's where you're focused now because you are great at recognizing potential in people and great at encouraging, okay, what's the next step? Or how could you look at that differently? Or, what do you think that's about? I leave our conversations, 1, feeling lighter and 2, feeling heard and 3, feeling like she gets it and like, she's right. I always walk away thinking a little bit more deeply about how I can better myself in the best of ways. And I cherish our friendship, and I have a deep respect for your work and know how wonderful you are with it. So I love that. And I love you. And I'm so grateful that we could have this conversation. There's been a lot of great nuggets of wisdom, and I hope encouraging everyone who's listening to think a little bit more on a subconscious level and get in touch with our bodies and in touch with, the world and nature, and maybe disconnect from some things that might be, trying to get our attention and like holding such a tight grip on us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It all starts with the body, just getting in touch with the body. Thank you so much for having me. I love you and I love our conversations. So this has been just a joy.
Thank you. I'm so excited for this episode. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I will make sure to plug all of Leah's information and how to get in touch. And Leah, I just love you. So thank you for your time today.
Love you too, Jamie.
Listening to this episode thinking, wow, I have some limiting beliefs or maybe subconscious programming that may be holding me back from what I want in life? Take advantage of this offer to try hypnotherapy with Leah. Leah is offering $50 off her 30-day private RTT hypnotherapy experience by using code JAMIE50, that's JAMIE 50. This experience includes a 60-minute clarity session to better understand the limits you've been living in, mapping out a fulfilling future of your dreams, a 2-hour powerful RTT hypnotherapy session to uncover and release the root cause of what you've been experiencing, a 20-minute personalized transformational recording, a 30-minute follow-up call to commence and celebrate 30 days of transformation, and a 4-series of weekly worksheets to consciously uncover subconscious beliefs. Now, if you are curious about hypnotherapy and you want to give this a try, I highly encourage you to check it out. Go to Leah's website, HeyLeahC, that's HeyLeahC.com, HeyLeahC.com. Check out that private RTT hypnotherapy 30-day experience and use code JAMIE50, JAMIE 50 at checkout for $50 off. But hurry, because this offer is only valid through July 31st, 2025. That means you have through the end of the month to sign up for that 30-day experience, check it out, and possibly totally transform your life. Hypnotherapy has been such an incredible tool in my toolkit, and I've seen the work that Leah has done with her clients, and it truly is such a transformational experience that only can be explained when you experience it for yourself. So check it out. Let me know how it goes. I can't wait to hear about all the beautiful potential that's to come for you. So thank you, Leah, for that wonderful offer, and enjoy. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, I would appreciate you taking a moment to please leave a 5-star review. Every review helps visibility with this episode to reach more people. And I am on a mission to help people learn alternate resources to support themselves in their healing journey on their road to health. So please take a moment to leave a review, leave a comment. I read every single one and I respond back. And of course, the most helpful thing you can do is to share this episode. If you found it helpful, if you found it entertaining, please share it on social media, send it to a friend, a loved one, someone you think could find this helpful. It means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon.